Today's topic is a big one. It's quite the can of worms, and it's about vibe coding. This term vibe coding was coined in February of 2025. The concept is older than that, but the term was coined in February, and the idea is that instead of going about the traditional way of creating software, which is to write code, instead I can use AI in such a way that I describe to the AI what software it is that I would like to build, and then the AI, based on my plain old English instructions, the AI will then write the code to build that software. There are a number of platforms that you can do vibe coding on. I will be using Replit. Here I'm at the home screen and it says, "Hi Jay, what do you want to make?" When it comes to vibe coding, you generally can create simple apps or prototypes. If you want to build something very complex, very often vibe coding will fail. We'll see some of that in future videos, but for now I'm going to create a very simple app. I'm going to make a to-do app, but instead of the classic to-do app, I'm instead going to make it where I have the same tasks that I have to repeat each and every day. So let's say I do some marketing, and every day I need to, say, create a video and write a blog post and create a LinkedIn post and comment on someone else's LinkedIn post. And this is a routine that I go through each and every day. I don't want to have to create a brand new list each day and make a new to-do list for that day. I want it that every day I automatically start out the day with that list, since I intend to do that same set of tasks each and every day. And so I will enter these instructions to the app. Each and every day, I must do the same set of tasks. Write a blog post, record a short video, create a LinkedIn post, and comment on another user's LinkedIn post. I want an app that tracks whether I did each of these tasks each day. I should have a dashboard that contains two main components. Now, I could have just left it with this text, but the more you describe what it is you want, the better chance it is that AI will create what it is you want. So I've gone ahead and provided a little bit more detail. I should have a dashboard that contains two main components. One, I can mark off for today's date whether I've done each of these tasks. Two, I should have a calendar view that displays the current month and shows which tasks I've completed each day. The calendar should always display the current month, but I should have the ability to scroll to past months as well. I should also be able to edit a past day to indicate whether I've done the tasks for that day. And here I've added a key line. All the data should persist in a database. Now, here's another thing about vibe coding. The more technical you are, the better vibe coder you'll be. So it's kind of an ironic thing, because one of the biggest allures of vibe coding is that really you don't have to be technical. You can describe what it is you want in plain English. However, when you understand technical concepts, such as the fact that if this is a web app, the data won't be saved, and each time I refresh the web page, all my data will disappear, I understand that in order to keep the data around, I will need it to live in some sort of database. So here, I make that very clear that it should persist in a database. Now, it could be AI would have done that anyway, but here I make sure that it will indeed do that. And then I can hit the Start Building button. So here we can see that Replit is thinking. Sometimes it thinks for a long time. But let's see what it says over here. I'll help you plan a task tracking application based on your requirements. Let me analyze what you're looking to build and propose a plan. So here, Replit made an app plan, which is to build the initial prototype. And here it tells me a little bit about one of the technologies that it will be using. This is a technology that basically describes some of the visuals that we'll see. But then it offers me this. Would you like any of these additional features? We can also make changes later. So we could implement streak tracking for consecutive days of completion. That's pretty cool. Add statistics dashboard showing completion rates over time. Enable custom task creation beyond the initial 4 tasks. Add reminders, notifications for uncompleted daily tasks. Now, if I want all of these items, I can check them all off. However, be warned that the more complexity you put into the project, especially in one shot, the greater likelihood it is that the AI will fail. Now here, because I have background as a software engineer and I am technical, It does occur to me that for this third feature, enable custom task creation beyond the initial 4 tasks, that's actually something that when it comes to creating the database structure might be good to have from the outset. I actually thought about putting that in my description, but to keep things simple, I avoided it. But you know what? Let's go throw that one in. And then it says here a timeline that in 2 minutes, I'll already have a visual preview of what this looks like. And I will have, after 10 minutes, a functioning first app version. Don't worry, I'm going to fast forward things so you don't have to sit here for 12 minutes. But when I hit go, it starts working. You can see that it makes an initial checkpoint. The idea of a checkpoint is that if I make any changes in the future and somehow things break, I can always revert back to a previous checkpoint. So I don't have to worry too much if I totally make a disaster of things or if the AI will make a disaster of things. We can always revert to a previous checkpoint of when things used to work. So this is the initial checkpoint. And now we're going to let the AI continue to think. Okay, so here we can see that something is happening. It says designing your app. Okay, here we can see that it's starting to create code files, such as schema.ts, which stands for TypeScript. That's a particular programming language. So it's creating files of code. In a little bit from now, we're actually going to be able to see those files, and we can go ahead and edit these files ourselves if we have the knowledge to do so. Okay, here we can see a visual of our dashboard, and we have today's tasks, write a blog post, record a short video, and I can interact with this page. So let's go ahead and click on this and see what happens. Cool, completed and a daily progress bar. Let's just jump over to the left-hand side for a second because the AI, which is actually called Agent, is done. It says, I've set up the daily task tracking application with a dashboard showing today's tasks and monthly calendar view. The app allows you to view today's tasks, track completion status, see a monthly calendar overview, click on any day to edit, update task completions, and navigate between different months in the calendar. And it now asks for our feedback. So to give it our feedback, we need to check it out for ourselves. So I'm just analyzing everything. I see it says April 1, 2025, which is indeed today's date as I am recording this post. Let's check these out. Cool. If I get rid of it, it goes down. Sweet. And here's our calendar widget with a monthly overview. And here we can see that each square in the calendar has these 4 dots. And we can see that today's date of April 1 has 2 of the dots are green. So let's see what happens when we do this. Yeah, now it makes this dot green. So the 4 dots represent the 4 tasks. And when they become green, that means that they are completed. Now, out of curiosity, can I toggle things from here? Cool, so if I click on the calendar itself, it brings this up. And I can go ahead and do that, say, save it. Okay, so here we can see a bug because the 3 dots are still green, even though there's only 2 tasks that I've completed for the day. Out of curiosity, can I edit this? We can save that. But I actually don't want this behavior. I don't want to be able to check off tasks for future dates because that kind of doesn't make sense. Also, I noticed when I click on this, it says April 1, and it should not be. Okay, that's weird. April 4. So yeah, we're already starting out with some bugs. Let's scroll backwards. Okay, so oh, here's a little key, completed, not completed. Let's see what happens. So I think it's March 30th for some reason. Curious to see again. So for April, this is March 31st. So yeah, and here are 2 X's. So there are definitely some bugs, but it seems to be most of the way there. So that's pretty awesome. Now, because there are some bugs, I will now report to the agent what the bugs are. I'm going to report just 1 bug at a time because, again, the more complexity you give the agent in one shot, the greater likelihood of failure. So let's just do 1 item at a time. So let's start with the fact that things are the wrong date. So I will type in and then we'll hit enter. And interesting, it says agent is paused. So let's resume. Not sure why I have to do that, but it's running, and now it's going to think and review my message. So here, it said a bunch of things, but okay, created PostgreSQL database. So it's almost strange that now it's creating the database, but then here it has a message that addresses the bug that I reported. So it's in the process of fixing it. It's editing code. Now I could also try to go into the code myself and try to fix things, and that may be what I end up doing. But hopefully the agent itself could resolve the bugs that it itself created. You know, clean up after your own work. Now at any point, I can look at the files. So this is a list of the files and folders of all the code. We'll go back to this in a second, but let's let the agent complete what it's doing. So it says that it made some important changes. I can already see that there's a new problem, which again is one of the things with Vibecoding. Sometimes it will fix one problem, assuming it even did fix that problem, but it then creates another problem. Let's actually see. Okay, this state is now correct, so that's cool. It fixed that bug, but we now have a different bug. So this is pretty critical because today's tasks aren't showing up. So we're going to say the daily task widget displays this error. And let's see what the agent does with that information. So it seems that beforehand it wasn't loading tasks from the database. It was just putting it on the screen as a kind of template. But this error has to do with the fact that the database wasn't set up correctly, so now it's trying to grab these tasks from the database, but there's something wrong with the database setup, so that's what the agent is now trying to fix. So this is fun. We can actually see that it changed some of the code, and now it's running some commands in what's called the terminal. Okay, it's now telling me to use the app, and it has not yet diagnosed the issue, but when I use the app, it will create some information in the logs, and from there, agent will be able, hopefully, to diagnose the issue. So let's use the app. This is just a screenshot. We have to go here to use the app. Okay, so here we have that same, well, actually the error message is slightly different. And we'll say now, the error message is that. So here, it's looking inside this particular code file, and we may see it make changes. That would be fun. Okay, it says it sees the exact error now. So these green lines are what is being added to the code file, and the red lines are what is being deleted. Really what it means is that the green lines replace the red lines. Basically, it's updating the code, and now it's doing some other things, namely installing dependencies. Okay, the screenshot looks hopeful. Let's see if it works. Okay, this looks promising. Let's check that this still works. April 1, April 2, awesome. Let's see what happens when we do that, and that. Cool. Let's see what happens when we do that. Now we have 3 dots. Ooh, and it changed here too. That's good. And if we take one away, it removes that dot, and it removes it from here as well. Okay, this looks really promising. Now to make sure that the data actually persists in the database, I'm going to refresh the web page and hope that the tasks that I've checked off still remain checked off, and they are. Okay, this is cool. Now that this app has been created, it is currently only right now available for me to see, but if I deploy it, then it becomes a real web page. The thing that I'll have to do is really deploy it and truly make sure it works and really test drive it. Okay, so this was Vibecoding. I am definitely going to make more videos around Vibecoding because there's a lot to get into. Note that this was a relatively simple app. and we definitely ran into some issues despite its simplicity, but we got the agent to fix the most major bug. I'll have to use it later to fix the more minor bugs and also the missing feature of the custom tasks, which I see it didn't create. And I now have a functional app that I can use once I deploy it, and I will save deployment for a future episode. If I wanted to make my own changes to the code, I can go into any of these files and pull up the code and actually change the code itself and update the app that way. That's totally okay, and the AI will not mind you doing so. Every time you change the code and then in the future make a request to AI, it's going to see all the updates that you made, and it's going to run with them. In future videos, we'll also kind of test the limits to see how complex can we get with vibe coding. But certainly for simple apps and prototypes, this definitely was a ton faster than if I were to actually write the code from scratch for this app. In the meantime, thanks for joining me.